left to right. Russell Westbrook.
You love the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me get a hell yeah.
What is going on, everybody? What's happening? It is Deibs, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Welcome to Party on Broad. On tap for today, we're going to talk about everything about the NFL Draft Combine and talk about our top standouts for the Philadelphia Eagles on offense. Joining us today is Jack Duffy. Follow him on Twitter at JackDuffyTPL. What's up, Jack?
Hey, man. Last 2 days, NFL Combine, best time of the year. I enjoyed it a ton. So, ready to talk some prospects and some Eagles topics.
All right. So, Jack Duffy also has a podcast called Post Position. Goes about everything going on in the NBA. You want to plug anything about that, man?
Yeah, we just did an episode yesterday about Russell Westbrook and the Rockets, just them embracing the analytically driven basketball. Talked about Chris Paul and the Oklahoma City Thunder, and then kind of the James Harden and Giannis beef and drama that's going on, just with the NBA being the best soap opera in the world. So you can follow us on Twitter at Postposition Pod, on Instagram, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. So you'll definitely enjoy it for sure.
All right, kick ass. And, everything NFL Draft, Philadelphia Eagles, make sure you lock it down to thepaintlines.com. Let's get started. So today we're going to review wide receiver, running back, quarterback, offensive line, all of our top standouts from the draft combine so far. Today we have defensive line and linebacker, and tomorrow you're going to get defensive backs. But today we are talking about offense. Let's start off, dude, with the wide receiver position. I'll lead off. My number one most impressive standout here has to be Justin Jefferson of LSU. This prospect surprised me so much because I remember watching the tape on this guy. He looked like a slot guy. He looked like a guy that didn't really fit exactly what the Philadelphia Eagles need the most, which is a guy on the outside. But dude, this guy ran a 4.43 40, faster than Jerry Jeudy. This guy has A to B speed, which I did not expect. I came into this combine thinking, I think I had Justin Jefferson more on the bottom of my preferred wide receivers in this draft. He really impressed me. But dude, he checks off all the boxes, like in terms of production, work ethic, hands. He's smooth and confident in his routes. Given his talent now, he's always been a really good talent for LSU. No doubt, no one doubted that. Now that he ran a 4.43 40, does he sort of enter that conversation for the Philadelphia Eagles at 21? I don't know. What do you think?
I think with this draft, it's probably the best receiver draft we've seen in about 10 years. There's going to be at least 5 taken in the first round, and then at least 5 more in the second round. There might be 10 to 15 receivers taken in the first 2 rounds. And you look at CeeDee Lamb's 40-yard dash, his was a 4.51, and Jefferson's was a 4.43. And his only problem coming in was like his speed downfield, and he kind of checked that box off. He's 6'1", but people kind of question his top end speed, and he kind of checked that box off in the combine. And he has the stats last year at LSU to prove it. Had the national championship. He had Joe Burrow throwing him the ball. He was catching passes against top end defensive backs in college. So if you're right there, end of the first round, early second round, maybe Green Bay up there like 29-30, end of the first round, they could grab him there. He'd be early second round pick, but. Yeah, if more receivers get taken and the top 15 picks, 16 picks in the draft, then you might be there for Philadelphia. If maybe CD's not there, T. Higgins, all those other guys. But yeah, he definitely stood out to me a lot day one.
Yeah, really surprised. I went into this thinking at 21, Jefferson was not on my list. He could be now. I'm not decided yet. I probably lean more towards Jalen Reagor or other guys there. But let's talk about your pick. Who you got as a standout at wide receiver?
So I'm going to go with my biased Notre Dame take, Chase Claypool. He's 6'4", 235, 4'4", 240. The only other 6'4", 235-pound wide receiver to ever run under a 4.43 was Calvin Johnson. And he also had a 40.5-inch vertical and a 10.6 broad jump. So Chase Claypool, he's a standout at Notre Dame, 2 or 3 years with good numbers, and then at the combine, his stock rose a ton. He's one of the biggest standouts. Just being that size, you want to run that fast, you want to jump that high, along with the hands he had in receiving drills, the cone drills, all that kind of stuff like that. His stock definitely improved for that, for sure.
He brings that versatility, man. Is he a wide receiver or is he a tight end, or is he just going to be a hybrid?
That was a question coming in. There was kind of questions about how fast he's going to run. Some people were like, oh, he's going to run like 4.5, 4.6. But running a 4.42. If he played tight end, he would be a complete mismatch nightmare. But he's fast enough to play wide receiver. He's big enough. He would be a possession receiver. He can get down the field. So he could literally kind of be a Swiss Army knife for a lot of offenses. So I think that also brings him more value as well. And one thing about him being a tight end is he's already a good blocker for a receiver. So he could plug in right there if the team needs him there.
Yeah, dude, I think that he was also on my list. I think he solidified himself as a lock for day 1 or day 2. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to be day 2. I think he'd be second, third round pick for sure. But I think one guy for me that kind of Quintus Cephas wearing a 4.7 3.40 out of Wisconsin. That was one guy that kind of his stock definitely dropped. You see one of those guys out of Wisconsin, good receiver, had put up good numbers at Wisconsin. Didn't really have good quarterbacks. That's kind of one of the things coming in. It was like, all right, a lot of these guys that don't have good guys throwing the ball can kind of sway their stats. But with that 4.7 3.40, it's kind of tough to overcome.
Let's talk a little bit about Henry Ruggs III from Alabama, my guy. Let's talk. Unfortunately, he did not beat John Ross's 4.22 time. That time still remains. His explosiveness, though, watching Henry Ruggs run that 40, man, is so effortless, man. This dude ran under a 4.3 and didn't even have his best start in his run. Overall, I don't think Henry Ruggs III, his stock went up or down. I think he's still in that conversation as the best wideout in this draft. Here's what he is. He's incredible. He didn't finish any of the drills due to a right thigh injury. I guess the question remains for all Eagles fans, how far do you trade up for Henry Ruggs III, man?
So, I mean, I've seen different mock drafts with him being there at 21, and I've seen some, I mean, we see CD and Jerry Jeudy up there in the top 12, and then you see like T. Higgins and Ruggs kind of being there around like 15 to 20. So, if I'm Philadelphia, there's this draft is so receiver heavy that I wouldn't trade the pick at all. I would just kind of see best available at 21 and go and grab them. But I mean, man, that 4.28, that's one thing that they showed at the combine is guys that run that fast. The guys that have had sub 4.340s, they haven't really had the best careers. But Ruggs has the skills out of the slot to be a good receiver in the NFL. Played at Alabama alongside Jeudy. So, I mean, he'd definitely be a good value pick with Philadelphia. I mean, we don't know what Deshaun Jackson's going to bring this year. It's kind of Eagles need receivers. They need receivers. So I wouldn't be surprised if they took 2. They took 1 on day 1 and then maybe potentially 1 on day 2. But if Ruggs is there, I think at 21, if Ruggs is there and Higgins is there, that'd be a pretty tough pick. I don't know about your thoughts on Ruggs or Higgins.
Oh, it's absolutely Ruggs over Higgins. Not even a question. Yeah. Ruggs has been my guy from day 1. The second I saw game film on this guy, it was like I just fell in love, man. And I probably wouldn't, if we're talking like 9 to 11 range, like near the top 10, I probably wouldn't. If I'm Howie Roseman, I would not give up the assets to go up that guy. Even if we're talking about CeeDee Lamb, I would not use those assets to move up because the Eagles have a lot of holes to fill. They need to add an injection of youth across the board on a lot of positions that we're going to be talking about, especially on defense. And we didn't even get there yet. But if he's there, man, at like 15 to 18, and we're talking only, a third round pick, maybe a future third or a future second, and man, I will be sweating bullets there about trading up and maybe getting Henry Ruggs in that like mid-teens range because he's a perfect fit, man. There's a lot of guys in this draft. There's a lot of wideouts in this draft that are really good fits for the Eagles, especially on the outside. That's what they need. They need a burner, a straight line guy, a guy that can stretch the field. But Henry Ruggs, man, I have been in love with this guy for months now, and I would die for him to be in midnight green come draft time. I would trade up to get him in that mid-teen range.
He stands out a lot on tape, and when I've watched him this year, I mean, you can't teach speed, and that's one thing some receivers don't have. And 4.28, that stands out. And kind of, you said you're a big Ruggs guy. I'm really big on Jordan Love, quarterback out of Utah State, 6'3", 6'8", 225, ran a 4.7, 4.40. And what we were talking about before this is one thing with quarterbacks. I know Eagles aren't looking for a quarterback, but just if you're looking at the combine, a quarterback that stock definitely rose with the combine was Jordan Love. And you can't really look at quarterback stats from the combine more so than, I mean, if you like a guy that's fast, like example, Jalen Hurts, 4.59 40. That definitely helped him out. Him throwing the ball helps him out too. Yeah, but like quarterback, there's a lot about those meetings you have with the team, what you see on tape with them going through progression, but it's also those throwing drills. And Jordan Love has one of the best arms in the draft. He's been getting Pat Mahomes comparisons. I'm not really a big comparison guy with quarterbacks. It's so hard to tell, especially with these young guys. But Jordan Love, I've had this hot take for 2 months now, and I think Jordan Love is going to be better than Tua Tagovailoa and Justin Herbert.
Okay.
But I think his stock definitely rose, and the Jacob Eason as well. He's almost 6'6" and ran a 4.89 40, and he was throwing the ball extremely well, along with Herbert too. So those three guys stood out to me out of the quarterbacks, the combine.
Okay. Justin Herbert looked great. I thought just his measurements and all that, his size and athleticism, are just obviously that stands out. And then my guy is Jalen Hurts, and I like his athleticism. I like his agility. I would love to see this guy kind of just sit down for a year or two with Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson, pick their brains and just kind of learn. That would be a really good fit. Where do you think Jalen Hurts could be drafted? Is that like a day 3 guy, maybe in that 4th round? What do you think?
No, I think he's definitely a day 2. There's there's chat right now that he could be gone by the end of the 2nd round. From what I've been hearing on NFL Network, ESPN, and a lot of draft stuff. So I think he's definitely going to be there in the 3rd round, but there's definitely a chance he's gone there in the 2nd round just because of his versatility. He's getting a lot of Dak Prescott comps. Again, I'm not a big comp guy, but just he threw the ball really, really well at the combine. He's fast. I think he's a coach of a son, so that checks off that box as well. He's a smart guy. He's won everywhere he's gone, and just his versatility. So he's ran different offenses at both schools he's been at. So definitely one of those guys to go in, learn for a few years, and you have to build your offense around Jalen Hurts. That's the thing about him. But I think he could definitely benefit day 2 guy for sure. And he'll definitely be gone by the end of the 3rd round. But man, I feel like there's going to be a team trading in the 2nd round to pick up Jalen Hurts. The 3rd guy in round 1 is not there.
Okay. Let's go back to wide receiver. Any other guys on your list that really stood out for you?
No, I think CD definitely ran slower than I thought he would at 4.51. I do question. So I'm a big Big 12 fan, but I think I question receivers coming out of the Big 12 just because of the defense they go up against. I mean, we saw when you get physical with CeeDee Lamb, he can't really do much. He's kind of an open field runner, and he kind of gets schemed into open routes and open catches. So that kind of questions me. But, I mean, I think definitely Jefferson's the guy. Jefferson or Ruggs are the 2 guys I would be most happy with Philadelphia. But, yeah, and then T. Higgins questions me a little bit as well. But I definitely would put Jefferson and Ruggs at the top of the list. Obviously, there's no way Eagles get Judy. But, yeah, those 2 guys for sure.
Devin Duvernay from Texas was really interesting. I thought he looked really good. I said this during my player profile breakdown on him that I did a few weeks ago. You can find that video here at the Painted Lines. But I thought he looks like Deebo Samuel, and I thought that could be a really good fit for the Eagles in that like day 2, day 3, range. He ran at 4.39 40. Yeah, so I am absolutely in love with Devin Duvernay from Texas for the Eagles in that day 3 range. And then Denzel Mims from Baylor, man. His cone time, he had the best cone time for wide receivers at 6.66. He had a great vert, great broad jump, great reps on the bench. Low 4.3s 40-yard dash, man. I don't even know who that – I honestly, I had no idea who Denzel Mims was, but apparently he really kind of opened up turned some heads there. He looks like a fringe first-round pick. And I got some 2 guys that I didn't really know who they were until a couple of days ago, and it's Donovan Peoples-Jones from Michigan.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying I did not know much about him before this either. Yeah, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, ran a 4.48 40. Had the highest vertical jump among all the wide receivers. Tied for 3rd best from the combine since 2006. 44.5 vert. Pretty good. He's 6'2", 212 pounds. He was a 5-star recruit. So he didn't really have any production. He only had 103, catches with during his time in Michigan, but he can play a little special teams as well. That's a really interesting day 2, day 3 pick for the Eagles. And the other guy, my last guy that really kind of opened my eyes was Isaiah Coulter from Rhode Island. You hear about this guy?
Yeah, I did. My roommate's really big on the Rhode Island guys. He told me a little bit about him. I didn't really hear much about him before the combine, but he stood out for sure.
Yeah, so just a former basketball player. He was a standout. He went from basketball, then to linebacker, and then to wide receiver. And he's 6'2", 200 pounds, ran a 4.45. He had a really good year last year, 72 passes for over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. Just a guy that came out of nowhere. Could be a really good day 3 pick for the Eagles. We talked about quarterbacks. Let's move on to offensive line. Lead us off, man.
Oh, okay. All right. So offensive line was probably, I love watching the big boys. And all right. So Tristan Wirfs, 4.85 40, 36.5-inch vertical, which would have ranked 16th out of the 40 wide receivers that did the vertical, and a 10-1 broad jump. That's literally insane. He's Kuiper's last mock draft. He had him at 8 to the Cardinals, but I think he solidified himself as the best offensive lineman in the draft.
So epic, man. 6'5", 320 pounds, had a better 40-yard dash and a better vertical than Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb. That was the most hilarious stat of the night last night.
He's literally a stud. And then Mekhi Becton, too, 6'7", 364 pounds, 17% body fat.
Whew.
Offensive lineman out of Louisville. So he's definitely going to be top 10. I think him and Wirfs are the two best offensive linemen in this draft. But, yeah, Becton, too, 5'1", 40. So you're 6'7", 365, running a 5'1". Jake Fromm at 6'1", ran at like 6'1", what? Jake Fromm's like 6'1", 200, ran like a 5.01. And Becton's like 7 inches taller than him, 165 pounds heavier than him, and almost ran the exact same 40. Crazy. He's offensive lineman. And the thing is, one thing about Wirfs that doesn't have to be a lot is he pulled a lot in college. So he pulled a lot and he can move in the open field. Obviously, that 4.85 40 tells you that, but open field blocking is really big for offensive linemen, being able to run, be mobile, and he checks off all those boxes. And this is athleticism, being able to jump. I don't really know. Offensive linemen don't really ever jump, but I guess if he's going out there as an eligible receiver, maybe get a touchdown pass every so often. But yeah, having a mobile, big, strong lineman is huge, and he literally checks off every single box. So there's not a Notre Dame guy, sadly, that's an offensive lineman that's going to get picked in this first round this year, which is pretty rare. But yeah, Wirfs is definitely my guy.
Yeah, but Mekhi Becton, man, that was just other big story of the night, dude. 6'7", 364 pounds, and his body fat percentage is under 20%. Like, I can't even wrap my head around that. That is so hilarious. My other guy I want to talk about is Matt Hennessy from my school, Temple. He doesn't have the size and the length of Becton or Wirfs, obviously. But dude, he's 300 plus pounds. He has got great technique. He's got very good athleticism. He finished second behind only Ezra Cleveland from Boise State in the short shuttle and the 3-cone drill. So his wingspan's pretty small, but he could be a really good pick, like day 2 pick, maybe day 3 pick if he falls for the Eagles. He can play anywhere in that interior offensive line. He's got a great football IQ. And just how cool would it be to have Matt Hennessy not have to change lockers? You would literally just stay.
That would be awesome. Hometown guys for sure. That's really cool. Man, yeah, we saw it last year at Sanders. So, yeah, hey, continue the trend on, get some PA guys up in Philly. So, what about tight ends? Did you any tight ends stick out to you?
Not really. Beyond Chase Claypool, I didn't really look into tight ends that much. I kind of just
Eagles have. Yeah, Albert O out of Missouri, 4.49 40. And he's 6'5", 258. That's the fourth fastest 40 since 2003 among tight ends. So he stood out to me a lot. Bryce Hopkins from Purdue ran a 4.66, but the top rated tight end in this draft, Cole Kmet out of Notre Dame, 4.7 40. Unbelievable hands. He's got the size. He's 6'5". Great blocker. Notre Dame's offense is kind of balanced. So a lot of tape with Notre Dame guys, especially receivers and tight ends. They get a lot of this balance between different blocking schemes, and they go after a lot of passes. He only has 600 receiving yards for his career, but Notre Dame's offense has been run heavy the last few years. But yeah, Cole Kmet, he's solidified himself as a top tight end. But Alberto and Hopkins both also stood out. So, I mean, again, there's 3 good tight ends that you can get in on day 2. I don't think any of these guys necessarily fall into top end day 1 guys. This isn't like last year's draft was a whole bunch of tight ends that's going to be up at the top, but there's definitely top 3 tight ends in that first year. But obviously, Eagles don't need tight ends. We're set there for a long time. But yeah, definitely got to keep an eye just in case. Always tight ends out there.
Very cool. Let's move on to running back. Who are some of your top standouts there at running back, man?
I think Jonathan Taylor definitely stood out. Sub 4.40, and it was kind of him. He was up there at the top with running backs. So I think him and DeAndre Swift were up there at the top. Akers ran well as well, Cam Akers. But I think Jonathan Taylor, some people question him going in because you've seen the Wisconsin running backs before. You've seen the certain guys. You've seen Monty Ball. You've seen these guys come in the NFL draft. They have really good offensive linemen, and these guys kind of just get schemed into having big open lanes to run through. But I think Taylor definitely, he's going to be a day 2 guy. I think this is another draft where there's not going to be running backs taken much in the round 1 last year. Josh Jacobs, obviously, with Oakland, but this is another weak running back class. But Jonathan Taylor is definitely the top of me. He has 6,000 career rushing yards and 50 touchdowns in Wisconsin, and his draft only his combine only helps his draft stock.
Sure thing. A really good showing yesterday, I thought, was A.J. Dillon from Boston College. Dillon spent the last 3 years at BC. He rushed at least 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns the last 3 seasons. Boston College wasn't very good, but you can't deny A.J. Dillon's talent, man. 6 foot, 247 pounds. He turned some heads in that 40-yard dash, 4.53 40, which was first in his position. He had a 41-inch vert, a 131-inch broad jump. Let's talk about how the Eagles have that lightning with Miles Sanders and Boston Scott. I think that is a great duo. I want that thunder, man. I want that thunder. A.J. Dillon could be that guy because when you watch the tape of A.J. Dillon, he can lower his head, not only for moving those chains, but he can move some defensive backs. He's a really good, solid piece for the Eagles in that like day 3 range.
I mean, the thing with the Eagles and Doug Peterson is you always have to be on the lookout for running backs because he's shuffling those running backs. Like there's 3 different running backs he's always shuffling in. We've seen in the last 3-4 years. So I mean, A.J. Dillon again, he played well, ACC running back out of Boston College. He ran well this year. He's versatile too. So Doug Peterson always wants those combo running backs, guys that can lower their head, get extra yards, but also go out for passes and block. So the thing with the Eagles is you always have to look at running backs because you never know what they're going to do. They're always thrown out. I mean, we got Miles Sanders right now. We got Boston Scott, but there's always going to be a chance for another running back to get in there. And I mean, we'll see what Roseman does. We'll see what they do. But I definitely can see another young running back going there because the thing with the NFL now is running backs are so replaceable that a lot of teams will just draft running backs, pay them cheap. It's easy on the books. Not going to go out there. Eagles won't go out there and sign a running back because they got Sanders right now solidified that 1 spot. So definitely going to build through the draft with this deep running back group.
Another mid-round guy that impressed me was DJ Dallas out of Miami. He's 5'10", 217 pounds. He ran a 4.58 40-yard dash. He's considered one of the best pass protection running backs in this class. He runs with a lot of power, but he can still hit the holes if he needs to. So he's that like short yardage back that the Eagles kind of need in that that would be attractive to Doug Peterson and Howie Roseman in the later rounds of this draft. I thought it'd be a really interesting pick, man.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing they need right now. They have the receiver, they have the speed guy. They just need one of those guys like the LeGarrette Blount type. Obviously, he's 5'10", 217, but you need one of those guys that'll go in there in short yardage situations, and I think that's what the Eagles need. So getting a guy like you said, Miami late round day 3 guy would definitely be a good fit.
All right, so let's start wrapping this up. Who is the player, in your opinion, who improved his stock the most?
Man, that's tough. I'd say Eason and Jordan Love out of the quarterbacks. They definitely. I mean, everyone was talking about Jordan Love on the first day of the combine. Everyone was talking about him. He wasn't even projected as a first-round pick, and now there's like buzz like, oh, what if Green Bay goes and grabs him? I mean, he was a day 2 guy originally, but his arm strength, you can't teach that. His only problem was turnovers, but his combine stats, 4.7, 4.40, definitely improved himself. I think Herbert definitely just solidified what he can bring. But I think outside of the quarterbacks, I think definitely Jefferson.
Yeah.
Because his question was speed. And so I think Jefferson definitely did the best for him. And then Claypool moved himself up from maybe a day 3 guy into a day 2 guy. So I think Jefferson and Claypool, I'd say, are the receiver spots for sure.
Are you looking at my sheet over here? Because Justin Jefferson was my guy. I didn't have this guy on my radar. Not at 21, not in a trade up. But now, he definitely kind of opened my eyes a little bit. And I have to kind of reevaluate where I'm at with that. And so Justin Jefferson, I thought that speed, the fact that he could be an outside receiver changes everything. And it just goes to show, it just adds more depth to the incredible amount of talent at wide receiver in this draft. Let's move on to the player that hurt his stock the most. Go ahead, man.
I'd say it was definitely Cephas hurt his stock, receiver 4.73. And then I'd say it was Cephas, and then Jake Fromm really, really hurt himself. Fromm couldn't make the deep throws. We were in a north of a 5 on his 40. And if you saw in those drills, he literally was stepping in. He was taking like a 5-step drop and putting his all into those deep post routes and just couldn't hit. He was underthrowing guys constantly. So I think definitely you question Fromm from an NFL arm standpoint. And so I think his stock definitely plummeted a lot. But I think now you got Tua, you got Jacob Eason, Jordan Love, and Justin Herbert. You got those guys up at the top with Joe Burrow. And I think Fromm definitely, he's down there into the team might get him maybe day 2, but I wouldn't. Jake Fromm's probably just a backup quarterback in the NFL. So I think he kind of just proved that he doesn't have the arm strength to be a starting quarterback in the NFL.
I've got a trio. I've got Laviska Shenault, Jalen Reagor, and Brandon Ayuk. Talk about 3 guys where the film does not match the testing, because all 3 of these guys, they didn't really necessarily have a bad outing at the combine, but these 3 were supposed to just tear it up at the combine with their speed, man. Jalen Reagor ran a 4.47, which I think solidifies him now as a second-round pick. This is a guy that I was pretty much locked in at 21. I probably would still take him at 21, to be honest. I love Jalen Reagor. And then you watch the game tape on Jalen Reagor, and if you were to tell me that he ran a 4.47, I would be like, you're full of shit, man. There's no way. His game speed is off the charts. And then you look at Brandon Ayuk. The good news, his length was absurd, man. Best wingspan since Calvin Johnson. Crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, he's only 6 foot. So that's pretty wild. But the fact that he ran in the 4.5s, I never would have expected that. Brandon Ayuk, when you look at the game tape, man, this guy just is speed, pure speed. And maybe he gained too much weight. I don't know. But not a good combine for Brandon Ayuk. And then Laviska Shenault, he only participated in the 40, and he ran a 4.58. This is another guy that's a burner, and it just didn't translate. All 3 of these guys were fringe first-round picks, and now I see them as day 2 guys. I just think of Justin Jefferson. I go back to Jefferson. Did he leapfrog those 3 right there? Because there was kind of some conversation about that. So they're kind of the 3 there that they didn't necessarily hurt their stock, but in terms of being a lock for the first round, major questions.
It's really weird to me how you see in-game speed, and then it does not translate to testing in a 40. And that's the craziest thing to me. You see these guys, you talk about Ayuk, you see him on tape and he looks incredibly fast, and then he goes in there in a 40 and he completely disappoints, sub 4.5, or north of a 4.5. It's just, that's one thing that's really strange to me. CD Lamb, you'd think he's one of the fastest guys in the draft. As a receiver, runs a 4.51. So it's always crazy to me how it doesn't translate on film to actually when you get tested.
It's wild, right? All right, so last question before we wrap this up, man, and then we'll do some final thoughts. But you're Howie Roseman. You're at 21. You have the 21st pick. Are you in? What's your choice? Would you trade up? Would you stay at 21, or would you trade down? What is your kind of overall thinking right now today?
So there's a few ways they can go. None of them include trading up, because I still think, there's going to be CD, Jerry Jeudy, T. Higgins. I think those guys are definitely going to be up there in the top. And then you also have like Ruggs and Jefferson. Those are 5 receivers that I wouldn't mind the Eagles getting at all. Obviously, I think Higgins being the least, probably the number 5 guy out of that group. But if you're sitting there at 21 and let's say Lamb and Judy are both off the board and the team wants to trade up, let's say a team that's 2 slots back, 3 slots back wants to trade up and not get a receiver, and you can the team behind you is not really getting a receiver, maybe you could trade back a couple spots, get some maybe a day 2 pick or a few day 3 picks. You can go back there and you can still get Jefferson if you need to, or you can still get Ruggs. You do that, but I think most likely you stay there at 21 and you get Ruggs or Jefferson, whoever's there. And I think there's a good chance that it's almost most likely that one of those 2 guys is going to be there. So you sit there at 21, grab a receiver. That's what the Eagles need. They need that, and then day 2, go after a bunch of DBs.
Yeah, man. I pretty much echo everything you just said. I go back and forth with this all the time. Would I love Henry Ruggs, in Eagles green? Absolutely. Now that I've seen the combine, Jalen Reagor could be falling. I would love to trade back a little bit and get Jalen Reagor, give Howie Roseman some ammo to move up and down in that 2nd round, maybe 3rd round, get some DBs, like you said. And I think that's the most logical decision right now. Throw as many darts as you can here at this dartboard, and hopefully a few of these wide receivers will stick. I would probably take 3 wide receivers in this draft. Outside wide.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, man. And just hopefully at least one of them can give you legit production next year.
Because, I mean, you've seen what Roseman's done since 2010. Their best receiver they've drafted is our man, best hands in the league, Nelson Aguilar. That's the best receiver the Eagles have drafted since 2010. Oh. Think about that. That's the best one. So, I mean, like you said, throw as many darts as you can on the board. Literally just grab at least 3 guys, I think. At least 3 receivers, 3 DBs, maybe some offensive line depth, and then maybe a linebacker. That's probably top for me for sure.
I don't care about J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. He hasn't shown me enough to even hesitate on taking multiple wide receivers in this draft. The Carson Wentz needs a vertical threat. That is just hands down. The Eagles have to come out. I'm saying at least 2 burners on the edge for Carson Wentz in this draft. And I want at least a starter at cornerback and maybe another outside cornerback in this draft. So that wide receiver, cornerback, man, those are the top 2. And if you could trade back, get Jalen Reagor, and maybe get another, asset to maybe move up and get like a Trayvon Diggs or a Christian Fulton if they fall in that 2nd round, man, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, because that's the thing. This draft is so receiver heavy that you could trade back and still have a good guy, good viable option there on day 2. If you trade out of day 1, maybe later in the 1st round, and you get an extra day 2 pick. So, like I said, 10 to 15 receivers in the first 2 days at least. So there's a lot of receivers in this draft, and receivers are really hard. I mean, you see a lot of these receivers that are trying to be studs that are 2nd round picks, 3rd round picks, 5th round picks. Antonio Brown, 6th round pick? So you see a lot of these guys that are drafted late. I think Eagles go there day 2, at least get one, and then day 1, if you can trade back, just get as many assets as you can. Get as many viable receiver and DB options as you can. So, yeah, we'll see these defensive backs in the next few days. I'm really interested to see this because what's good about this draft is it's really DB heavy and receiver heavy, and that's both of the Eagles need. So it's definitely positive for me.
Last comment before we wrap this up. I got to say, I love the fact that you have my favorite basketball player sitting right next to my favorite movie of all time. Right in the back, you got Ben Simmons and the Terminator, man. That's fucking awesome.
Oh, yeah. No, all my entire walls are filled with posters literally all around. So, yeah, it's got a lot of stuff around here.
That's awesome. All right, so make sure you
great movie.
That's awesome. Make sure you check out the Post Position Podcast. Follow it on Twitter at Post Position Podcast, and follow Jack Duffy on Twitter at Jack Duffy TP. I almost called you Jack Connell there. It's like a little.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we do a lot of pods together. Any last comments before we wrap it up, man?
Last comment: Jordan Love is going to be better than Tua Tagovailoa and Justin Herbert.
Love it. For Jack, for myself, thanks for watching, guys. Go Birds! Stay awesome.
Sixers win it! Wow! Oh, man, Embiid just posterized Russell Westbrook.
You love the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me get a hell yeah.